So this update just recently came out, and it is involving the people that were supplying drugs to actor Michael K. Williams, who unfortunately passed away from a drug overdose last September. And that was just a surprising and a shocking loss to the world, especially because he was such a talented actor. And then, of course, we had learned that he did have a binge with drugs in the past, but then he ended up getting off of it, mainly because I believe that acting is what saved his life. But unfortunately, it sounds to me like he must have relapsed, or he must have got a hold of some bad drugs and he overdosed, and unfortunately he was found dead inside of his home. But the update that's come through now is that 4 people have been charged with his death. Because like I said, when it comes to drugs and overdose and ODing, if he got it from a supplier, and it says apparently 4 people were involved and he ended up dead because of it. So now they're going to link it back to the people in which he purchased the drugs from. And they said it was 4 of them. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he has purchased from them before, but it wasn't life threatening. But this is the one that took him out, which means something was probably altered with this round of drugs that wasn't there with the round of drugs he had before, because he was still alive. 4 men faced charges that they were members of the drug distribution crew that supplied a deadly mix of narcotics to Michael K. Williams, the renowned actor from The Wire, who overdosed just hours after buying fentanyl-laced heroin in a deal recorded on security camera video. The man seen on camera handing Williams the drugs on a Brooklyn sidewalk, Erwin Cartagena, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, was charged with directly causing the actor's death. Williams' death was investigated by the New York City Police Department, but the charges were brought by federal prosecutors in Manhattan, who revealed that the suspects had been under surveillance even before the actor's fatal overdose last September. It was a sting that bore a striking resemblance to the kind depicted on The Wire, where Williams gained fame playing the bandit Omar Little. For months, a paid informant working for the NYPD had been making controlled buys of heroin on the same block where Williams purchased his drugs. An undercover police officer made one buy just days before the actor copped his fatal dose, court papers said. The vials of drugs found with Williams when his body was discovered on September 6 bore the same label, AAA insurance, as the vials purchased by the officer. The day after the actor's death, the NYPD's informant went back to buy more drugs from the same group, recording a conversation in which some members of the crew talked about Williams' overdose. One denied selling any drugs containing fentanyl. Excuse me. Cartagena and the 3 other men in the case were arrested Tuesday. 3 made initial appearances Wednesday in Manhattan federal court. Cartagena's initial court appearance is scheduled for Thursday in Puerto Rico, where he was arrested. It was not immediately clear who would represent him or who would comment on his behalf. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, who announced the charges with the New York City Police Commissioner Keechant Sewell, called overdose deaths a public health crisis, and it has to stop. Deadly opioids like fentanyl and heroin don't care about who you are and what you've accomplished. They just feed addiction and lead to tragedy. Sewell said police detectives in Brooklyn lived this case, never relenting in their investigation until they could bring a measure of justice to Michael K. Williams and his family. Williams, age 54, was found dead in his penthouse apartment in Brooklyn September 6. At that time, the medical examiner's office ruled Williams' death an accident. Police pieced together Williams' movements in the hours before his death using data from his mobile phone and license plate readers. A security camera on the block recorded the drug deal, police said. Williams talked with the group, and one of the people placed his hands on the actor's shoulder in an apparent gesture of recognition, according to the complaint. Cartagena then walked around a row of trash cans, retrieved a plastic bag, and handed it to the actor. The men continued to sell fentanyl-laced heroin in broad daylight amid apartment buildings in Brooklyn and Manhattan, even after knowing that Williams had died from one of their products. The others charged were identified as Hector Robles, Luis Cruz, and Carlos Machi. So these were all, based on these names, were all Latino. All of Brooklyn. Their lawyers did not immediately return messages seeking comments. It wasn't clear whether they were the men seen in the surveillance video. All 3 were ordered detained at their initial court appearances. The conspiracy charges against all four carry a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum sentence of 40 years. The charge against Cartagena, accusing him of causing the actor's death, carries a mandatory minimum of 20 years in prison and a maximum of life. Cartagena had been arrested in Brooklyn, February 2021, on state drug charges in Brooklyn after selling 4 small waxy paper bags to an undercover investigator, according to a federal complaint against him. At the time, he was on a pretrial release from a gun charge arrest in August 2020. He pled guilty on August 26 to disorderly conduct in both crimes and was sentenced to time served, the complaint read. Williams' Stick-Up Boy, Omar Little on The Wire, a fictionalized look at the underpinnings of Baltimore that ended in 2008 but remains popular in streaming, was based on real-life figures. He created another classic character as Chalky White on HBO's Boardwalk Empire and appeared in films 12 Years a Slave and Assassin's Creed. He has spoken frankly in interviews about his experiences with addiction. So there you have it. He just got a hold of some bad drugs, or he got dealt something that was too strong for him to deal with. Now, I don't know if that's what he wanted, or if that's what they gave him and that's not what he wanted. But the fact of the matter is that this man is no longer here, and now it seems to me that they have captured seemingly the guys who are at this point are still alleged that they were the ones that supplied him those drugs that took him out. I'm telling you, them drugs is a very dangerous thing. I know I talk about, fentanyl and opioids and stuff like that and the whole I feel nothing thing. But we know why I say it when it comes, the angle that I'm coming at it from with this. But when it comes to us, I'm going to take it, deal with it at another angle. Like I said, to my people out there, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. Especially when you're buying your drugs like this, you don't know what people can be putting in it. And they said that they had these people under an investigation for months. So they already knew what they were putting in there based on the investigation. They just didn't expect that Michael K. Williams was going to buy from them. And this Cartagena guy, he has it seems to me he has a pretty interesting history with law enforcement and just the law in general. But that's pretty much the update right there. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you are new. Make sure y'all have that bell turned on to receive all notifications whenever I go live or upload a new video.